Welcome back to In Between Cuisine. I'm Tony Hickman. So my last video we did the simple traditional version of beef stroganoff using ground beef and some noodles. So today we're going to do the slightly upgraded version. Higher quality meat, a couple more ingredients, nothing too crazy, just one notch above of what we did before. So let's get started. Alright you guys, so we're back over the stove. Got my trusty cast iron out. And so instead of using the ground beef like we did last time, I got this beautiful piece of sirloin beef from the local market. Looks good. That should really bring up the flavor of this. Got some avocado oil here. Got my pan already, medium to high heat. Just put a little bit of oil in there. Let that coat this pan a little bit. Then we're gonna put our beautiful piece of meat right in like that. Now some people like to slice their meat and then do it all in the pan individually. I personally like to cook the meat in one big piece. You have a little more control of even cooking and getting the temperature of the beef just how you like it. And then after it rests, when we're done cooking, then I'll go and slice it up and then we'll incorporate it in that way. So we're gonna give this a little sear and a cook on each side. Depends on your heat. Should be, 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes on each side. We'll be right back. All right, it's been about 3 minutes. Let's give it a look. Yeah, looking pretty good. Oh no, we're gonna go ahead and give that a turn. And maybe you're asking, why'd you use avocado oil? Because avocado has a very high smoke point, which means you could cook in higher temperature without, the smoke rising up from the pan. Something actually I just learned. I probably should have done that when I was doing my pork and beans video as well, because that was getting really smoky. So lesson learned, we're doing this with avocado oil, and we're gonna let this other side cook for just a few minutes. It's been about another 3 minutes, guys. That side's looking good. You can kind of rest up here on another side. I'm gonna let it cook on that additional side, again, just for about another 2 or 3 minutes. All right, so once you have a good coating, good color on all sides, go ahead and remove this from the heat and let it rest. All right, so I let my cast iron cool down just a little bit before, because I want to use the same pan and use all that flavor that's now on the bottom of that. But I wanted that pan to cool down just a little bit so we could add our butter without burning it. So I went ahead, just added our butter, and we're going to start working on our sauce now. Let's get this butter. It's okay if there's still a little bit of oil left over. That's all just good flavor waiting to be absorbed. Get that butter going. Now this time, instead of doing half an onion, we're only going to do 1/4 of an onion. Now I know you're, Tony, why are we only doing 1/4 of an onion? You love onion. I do, it's probably one of my favorite ingredients to cook with. But we're also going to add 2 shallots, kind of like a relative of the onion. If you had a whole half onion and shallots, that might be just a little overpowering for some. So I do like to keep the shallots in big form like this. They will divide, they will cook down once we get that going. And then of course our mushrooms. I went ahead this time, added more mushrooms. I think I did, last recipe I think was 3 mushrooms. I did 5 mushrooms this time. It was a little skimpy on the mushrooms for my tasting, so I want to make sure I add some just because I love mushrooms too. Sure all this gets coated with that butter. If you need more butter, add more butter. And then we're going to simmer this down just like last time, for about 4 to 5 minutes. And we're gonna go ahead, add some salt at this point. Get that cooking in there. Mix that in. Now we're going to do a couple different steps before these get completely done at that 5-minute mark. Next step comes in about 2 minutes, so I'll see you then. Alright, so now that that's been cooking for just a couple minutes, I'm going to add some Worcestershire sauce. Oops, yeah, that kind of came out. Some Dijon mustard, not a lot. That got all over me. Stir both of those in. You should be getting a good smell going in your place right about now. That looks good. Go ahead, add 2 cloves of garlic, like so. Give that a stir in and let this cook for about 60 seconds. Alright you guys, secret weapon time. Some people at this point, they just move on or they add a splash of brandy. You could do that as well. This part's optional, but I think it adds great flavor. We're going with some vodka. Gonna use some Goodnight Lovin' vodka, a local Austin vodka company. Now at this point, you can flambe this, which means lighting it on fire and looking really cool. So if you're having a date night or something like that and you want to impress, go ahead and ignite this and let that alcohol burn off. I'm not going to do that because I got my camera positioned right above me and I don't want to get it on fire. But the alcohol will burn off just as good as lighting it on fire, just in time. The alcohol burns off anyway. The lighting it on fire, that's purely just for show. But the flavor, you will get that flavor. So you want to let that alcohol kind of burn off and leave with that corn vodka flavor. Doesn't take long. If this was on fire, it would already be out by now. So you can see what it starts to do to those shallots and those mushrooms. Looks great. From here we want to add some chicken stock. You could use beef stock too. The only reason I'm using chicken is because that's what I had in my pantry. Either one works. Whatever you like. And we're going to let this cook, this broth, for about another 60 seconds. Now once that's been cooking for about 60 seconds and you got that broth up to a simmering boil, I went ahead off camera, I cut up my steak. I'm going to re-add it. Now it looks bloody and it looks like you can't eat it at this point because it's so rare. And that is on purpose because it's still going to cook additional in here. You don't want to cook the steak, at least if you're preparing it this way, exactly to the temperature that you want, because then it'll be overdone by the time it's done cooking in the sauce. Now you can, it's definitely a different way to do it and it works just as good. You can cook the steak completely to the temperature you want, set aside and make the sauce without adding the steak, and then when you're done, kind of present the steak on top. Totally good too. But you know me, hopefully you've been seeing my other videos. I like everything at the end to be in one pot. Just my personal preference. So we're gonna let this cook down just a little bit and we'll be right back. So once that's cooked down just a little bit, your beef will cook fast in this, so be careful. You don't want it, unless you like it well done, you don't want it to cook too much. I just flipped these so they're still pink on the other side. But it's time to go ahead and add our cream. And just like before, immediately add your sour cream on top of that, because that cream will cool it down just enough so that the sour cream doesn't curdle when you add it on. And give this a good stir. If you notice, I mean, I'm getting splash here, but you notice my shirt choice is white, and that was on purpose. When I'm cooking with cream sauces, I always like to wear a white shirt just because when it splashes up on you, you don't really notice it as much. Otherwise, I'm typically in a black shirt. But we're going to incorporate all this in and bring this up to a simmer. We'll be right back. Once you got that coming to a simmer, I like to add some paprika. And this is totally optional for you guys. It's something I like to do. Just a little bit of crushed red pepper. Let's go ahead and mix this all in. And while this is mixing in, last time I did noodles, and this time I'm going to do egg noodles to put this on top of. I like the consistency of, or the texture of egg noodles. A little thicker. Since we're having big old chunks of meat here, it'll hold the sauce a lot better. So I have that boiling over there. It's not quite done yet, so I'm going to let this cook down just a little more until my egg noodles are done, and then we'll incorporate both of them. So we'll be right back. All right, you guys, we are back. I did a taste test of it. The salt level was actually right spot on this time. I did need some pepper, so I added some pepper, but the flavor was so good. Now I have my egg noodles. I'm gonna go ahead. Again, just like last time, you could keep the egg noodles separate if you want and spoon the sauce on top of it. I like to just do it this way just for, I don't know, it just tastes better when the sauce is actually cooked into the noodles. And for storage. I mean, if you keep them separate, you have to have a storage container, one for the noodles and then one for the sauce. This way you just need one big storage container, put it in the fridge. It has both of them already mixed in. All right, we're gonna give this a good stir in, and looks good to me, guys. Now with the addition of these noodles, you may need to re-season just a little more salt or pepper, just because we added so much mass here to this dish. It may need a little more. But so do that to taste. But in any case, there you go. There's the upgraded version of the beef stroganoff. Let me see if this actually helps if I bring it closer to you like that. Yeah, a little bit. Looks like I used maybe just a pinch too many noodles, but that's fine. They'll still absorb that sauce. Nothing left to do now but to give it a try and see what it tastes like. Let's do it. All right, let's give this a try. So looking at it, I love the color. Shallots and the onions are cooked down perfectly. You can't tell because it's covered in sauce, but the steak is a great medium temperature, which is how I like my meat. So it's up to you however you like yours. If you like it more rare, cook it for less time. If you like it well done, cook it for longer time. Either on the pan or in the sauce. Just give it a try. I love this flavor. The meat is, as I said, cooked great, nice and chewy. The noodles, the flavor that the vodka brings out and everything, man, that's the missing piece right there. Make sure you add that. But other than that, this is great. It's a little more expensive than the first dish that we did. And let me just say that first dish was fantastic as well. So either one works. So the first dish, if you're looking for something simple and cheap, definitely the way to go. If you're looking more of like a date night or looking to impress a little more, I would suggest the second option, the one we did here. I have all the ingredients, the price points, everything listed down below. In case you missed my first one about the traditional beef stroganoff, you could find it right here, or you could check out one of my other videos I did before right here. So again, in the comments, let me know which one you like, traditional or my upgraded version, or somewhere in between. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.